Good evening and welcome. You're watching the NewsHour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. Today, India finally managed to do what many, some within India in fact, had thought was impossible. Extracting close to 700 Indian nationals, mostly students, from Sumy, the conflict area of Sumy in Ukraine. Even as Ukraine claimed fresh shelling on the city with the death of 21 civilians, including 2 children, today morning itself, in the midst of all that, India managed to carry out an intricate rescue operation of our students. The MEA has confirmed that a convoy of 12 buses has now taken out all Indians from Sumy. They are accompanied by officials of the Indian Embassy and those of the Red Cross. In fact, not only that, India has also helped citizens from Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan get out. They have all now been taken to Poltava, and finally from West Ukraine, they will all be helped to cross the border and then fly back to their respective countries. And all of this negotiating tightrope walk was done even as back home in India, the political sniping continued unabated. The government was asked, "What are you doing?" Someone remarked that Operation Ganga was nothing more than an elaborate PR exercise with photo opportunities, and that students had been left pretty much to fend for themselves. Some even said that the government of India did not even have an effective rescue plan. After, India has now proven to be moving heaven and earth only so that its citizens stay safe and they are brought back. Isn't it a sobering lesson for us that at some times we have to unite and we have to believe?
Watching the NewsHour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us on the debate, Aparajita Sarangi, MP and national spokesperson of the BJP, Major General Dhruv Katoch, director at India Foundation, Kapil Madan, lawyer and supporter of the Indian National Congress. I actually want to start by asking you, General Katoch, because most people would not understand the logistics and the maneuvering that was required for an operation like this. Remember, 21 civilians were killed in Sumy this morning itself. And in the midst of that, we've managed to take out some 700 of our citizens. General Katoch.
Thank you, Padmaja. For anybody who has been in the battle zone where bullets are flying, they will comprehend exactly how difficult it is to carry out any form of evacuation or even to send in reinforcement of own troops. Now, in this particular case, when you're looking at Sumy is the war zone where both the Russian and the Ukrainian forces are fighting. And despite the fact that ceasefires have been declared for short durations of time, they have been violated persistently. On the third attempt, this is not the first time that we got our children on the bus. Yes. This is the third time where we actually got them onto the buses, and this time it was successful. Now, the difficulties of the coordination are, one, getting the information to the children concerned. That is a very vital aspect because each one of them has to know where they have to go. Then after that is coordinating the logistics of getting them to one point and getting them out of there. There is a great deal of political coordination involved where I think at the highest level this is done. That is between India and Ukraine and between India and Russia, so that all the parties agree to those timelines. Now, I think this has been very, very successfully managed. If some people call it a PR exercise, well, let us have more of these PR exercises. Then this is exactly what India needs.
So, Kapil Madan, Jairam Ramesh said, Narendra Modi's only mantra is NATO. No action, tamasha only. With what we have seen happening in Sumy, it seems that such critics' only agenda is NATO. No action, criticism only.
So, Padmaji, we need to look at it in the context of what has happened. We all know that one of the prominent minister of the BJP made a remark that 90% of the students who go there can't.
So can we focus on the rescue? You would not want to focus. If this is how beggared we are in terms of what we are as a country, you don't want to focus on the government of India rescuing 700 Indians. You're like, let us now focus on that one man.
Padmaja ji, you need to allow me to at least finish my statement, and then you can give me a rebuttal. I will answer you back. Please allow me to finish.
Sir, answer about the rescue operation.
I am answering on the rescue operation.
Yes.
So let me tell you, Padmaja ji, this is not the first time the rescue operations have happened. We all know 1990, the Gulf War happened. Thereafter, one of the rescue operation happened in 2006 from Lebanese. And thereafter, Operation Safe Homecoming happened from Libya. Operation Rahat.
That is wonderful. May those governments get all the credit that they deserve. But in the middle of a crisis to say, no action, tamasha only. You think this is a tamasha?
I'm asking you one question. Did you see any evidence where the person who were evacuated were asked to chant Narendra Modi ji ki jai? I mean, it happened. I mean, Narendra Modi ji ke jakare laga rahe flight ke andar, and in fact, the kind of response the student gave is an answer that
let's say unequivocally that was an extremely poor idea. It was an extremely shameful thing to have done inside an Indian Air Force plane. That being said, the rescue itself, let's not a few individuals overshadow what the government or rather the country is doing as a whole. To say that there is no action, tamasha only. Sir, tamasha does not rescue your citizens from the middle of a conflict zone. Period. We can either focus on the woods or we can focus on the trees.
That's precisely the point. If you see the evacuation that have happened in the past and the evacuation that has happened right now, in fact, it is the resources of the government who are doing the job. In fact, that has also happened in the past. But in the past, you never had these kind of creatures who were trying to politicize. And that is the reason why there are now statements to say that it is now become, the government is trying to make it as a tamasha.
Okay.
That is the precise reason.
But you will agree that there is action? To say no action, tamasha only, without action, how do you manage to bring back 18,000 people, including 700 today?
Padmaja ji, let us see the timelines. We've argued previously on your debate. One of the panelists argued that the US came up with the advisory in January. We came up with an advisory on 15 Feb. We had the first flight on 22nd of Feb.
We are not going back into the past. We can argue ad nauseum. I am asking you simply that 2 weeks into a full-fledged war, to say that there is no action, tamasha only, was ill-timed and ill-thought out. Would you agree?
Perhaps if the government was active, perhaps if they were following the leads of the US advisory, this situation would not have arisen at the first place.
Realize, as a final effort, I'm trying to ask you,
for a minute, please.
Don't give credit to anyone. Let's say India as a country has managed to do what most countries haven't. India, don't even give the government. Say India as a country.
Of course, yes, Padmaja ji. Of course, yes. The fact that there are people who are still risking their life, and I'm absolutely proud of it. But I equally condemn the kind of politicization, the kind of tamasha, the kind of PR event which the government is trying to do out of it.
All right. General Katoch, quick response, then I'll bring in Aparajita Sarangi.
No, you see, I have met some of these students who have come back, and I asked them one specific question: why didn't you move out when the US advisory came? And then I asked them later on in February when the Indian advisory came, why didn't you come back? And they all told us one thing very straight. They said, listen, the Ukrainian president had given an absolute assurance that there will be no war. We believed him, and it is a very expensive proposition for us to come back. So I don't think these advisories would have worked. Ultimately, there had to be a war, and we had to get them out in a warlike situation. This I'm specifically stating so that all your viewers can understand this particular point. No student wanted to come back when the US gave their advisory.
And let's also be clear, from public statements from the students, that the universities were not offering online classes at that time. They thought it would be a very expensive proposition, but the idea is not to blame the the students. The idea is to say, yes, for whatever reason, citizens decided to stay back, but the government is not saying, your cross to bear because you stayed back. They went back and they are bringing back every Indian citizen. Aparajita Sarangi, the effort is not being underplayed. It's the politics which is leaving a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And you have to agree. To stand in an Indian Air Force plane and say, let's do Jaikara of a government or a prime minister is not required at this time.
If rescuing our people whose lives are in danger and bringing them safely back to our country is tamasha, I think so be it, Padmaja. We are today heaving a sigh of relief. 694 people, to be exact, have been brought back after 2 futile attempts. In the 3rd attempt, we could bring them back. And I think the entire team of Prime Minister Modi needs to be complimented for this excellent effort. We also need to compliment the governments of Russia and Ukraine and the neighboring countries, 4 neighboring countries who have really helped us out. 4 ministers were actually coordinating the entire evacuation process. And a couple of days back, when Cabinet Committee on Security meeting was held, Prime Minister was categorical, candid enough. He said the evacuation of our people from Ukraine is our topmost priority. And we would be focusing on that. And lo and behold, in these so many number of days, with concerted effort, with focused effort, with a lot of diligence, sincerity and coordination, all our 18,000 people have come back.
Kapil Madan, you know, a question was asked, what exactly is the plan of the government of India? Now, let's just take a look at the past 24 hours where you've had a phone call between the Prime Minister and the head of state of Russia, the head of state of Ukraine. Subsequently, a ceasefire was sought and a humanitarian corridor was established. Simultaneously, the MEA said, we are in touch with the Red Cross. You do realize that in times of war, this was literally like moving a mountain, sir. So a little bit credit where it's due to people who have moved heaven and earth. And it's war. This is not even about a COVID evacuation. This is war. You cannot control war.
Let me respond by saying that evacuating our own people is our duty. We are not doing any favor. And in fact, the nation should stand together. In fact,
Thank you, sir. I mean, these are words of wisdom. Standing together is anything but what we've done over the last 10 days. Last 13 days, it's been called tamasha, it's been called PR. It's somebody remarked that Indians have been left to their own devices. So there are many countries who have left their citizens to their own devices.
Let's there are many facts that I would like to argue. In fact, there was an advisory by the embassy, Indian embassy in Ukraine, to say that you reach at so-and-so border at by 6 o'clock. How there was no whisper. By what means there was no whisper? What is the situation there? There was no whisper ki aap wahan pe pahunch jaiye. But nevertheless, we understand that these are an unprecedented crisis and you are in a different country. There is a war going on between 2 countries. But at the same time, in fact, it is the government who needs to be very, very mindful and senseful of the fact that whatever they do, I mean, they should not be really doing a politicization of it. That's exactly the point. Why and what is the opposition saying at this point in time? The opposition is saying, do the work, then pat your back. Do not politicize this issue. And in fact, this is precisely what BJP is doing. And in fact, it is not the first time. It is now becoming a trend that they've tried to politicize event like this. And that is why they are having a criticism from the opposition.
Aparajita Sarangi.
I think the opposition should have some wisdom and they should stop criticizing the efforts of the Prime Minister just for the sake of criticizing. You know, this is their job and that is why they are going by their job chart. Please don't do this. Please don't indulge in petty politics. At this hour, please don't indulge in petty politics. Politicizing the issue is being done by you, not by us. We are focusing on our efforts. You know, we are too much into work. All of us are working together. The main concern is to get our people back. And you please learn to appreciate and acknowledge the efforts of the government.
Anirban Banerjee.
Let me just make one quick response.
Okay, one quick response. Kapil Madan, then Anirban Banerjee.
When 2008 attack happened, our own Prime Minister, who was the sitting Chief Minister of Gujarat, did a press conference right in front of Taj. What was that not the politicization? In fact, at that point in time, nobody called the Honorable Prime Minister as anti-national or any such kind of a thing. So it is the BJP, the politicization of issues of national security is a hallmark of the BJP. Madam, was there a press conference done or not? Now you tell me, was there a press conference or not?
Why so?
Was there a press conference or not? Please answer that.
Modi evokes a negative reaction. Focus on the moment. Be mindful. This is your word. You just use that word. I like that word.
Okay, Mr. Saravanan, be mindful, says the BJP. 1 week ago, you said that students from North India are being given preference. Today, irrespective of which part of the country they come from, and of the accounts that I have read, there are students from Jammu and Kashmir, there are students from Tamil Nadu, there are students from Karnataka, there are students from Bihar who are among the 700 who have been taken out of Sumy. Mr. Saravanan, would you still agree that there is discrimination or there is a lack of action? All right, we still don't seem to have got Saravanan through. Anirban Banerjee, would you finally think that it was an action plan that was put in process?
Okay, yes, of course, it was an action plan that was put in process, but only after one of our child has lost his life, and only after hundreds of those students stranded in Ukraine had to walk across the borders, had to walk across the war-torn terrains and reach a foreign country, and after that, this so-called operation extraction, etc., is taking place. I mean, this is not an evacuation operation. Had the Indian government been proactive, they would have extracted these students from Ukraine itself even before even a single child would have been hurt. We have lost a person in that particular country, and these government's ministers were busy mocking them. They were mocking them. Why did those students go to Ukraine? The ministers were busy mocking.
Mr. Saravanan, 1 week ago, your leader said that North Indian students are being given preference. Today, among the students who have been taken out, there are those from your state, from Karnataka, from Andhra Pradesh, from Bihar. Would you still say that there is regionalism, there is preferential treatment, and the government is sitting on its hands?
See, Padmaja, it had happened. That is the reason why those allegations, we did not bring those allegations, we did not make those allegations out of thin air. The students were on record stating how they were deboarded and somebody from North India was boarded. Our allegations were based on those statements. And it was also on record that the embassy officials did not speak in English. They were speaking in Hindi. That is why, even in the last debate, we said that is why we want our representatives, our state representatives, to be there.
I mean, I don't know what to say, sir. I think the best answer was given actually by the students who went and met your chief minister. Let's actually play out what those students said.
Government அளவுக்கு எந்த கவர்மெண்ட்டும் ஃபாஸ்டஸ்ட் எவாக்குவேஷன் வந்து இந்தியா தான் பண்ணாங்க. நம்ம அளவுக்கு யாரும் பண்ணல. ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்பட்டுருப்போம் நீங்க சொல்லலைன்னா.
கண்டிப்பாக சார் நிறைய ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸும் சேர்க்கும்போது சொன்னாங்க ஹிந்தி ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் நார்த் இந்தியன்ஸு அதிகமாக எங்களுக்கு இன்னும் கவர்மெண்ட் இன்னும் அனௌன்ஸ் பண்ணேன்னு சொன்னாங்க. எவகேஷன் பற்றி அனௌன்ஸ் பண்ணவே இல்லை அவங்க இருக்காங்க. ஃபஸ்ட்டு தமிழ்நாடு அதுக்கப்புறம் கேரளா தான் அனௌன்ஸ் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க.
அதுக்கப்புறம் மொத்தமாக இந்தியன்ஸ் எல்லாம்
கண்டிப்பாக.
Mr. Saravanan, no government did as much for their students as the government of India did. And again, like we said, it's the government of India. It is not the government of any one state.
Agreed, Padmaja. It is their duty. They have to do it. What is there to tom-tom about it?
Of course it's their duty, but you said they weren't doing that duty. And now children who have come back to your state are saying that it was done. What you were saying all this while was that there is no action taken. Government is sitting. And let me quote, in fact, is what your chief minister said. The government has left the student to their own devices. Clearly not, sir.
Padmaja, we know what had happened earlier. From Pisochin, the Tamil Nadu government organized a bus. The government paid for the bus. So everybody, the question that has to be asked is, when this respective state governments or whatever, they say we are willing to provide a helping hand, why the union government does not want to take that help?
Sir, that has been refuted. I'll let Aprajita Sarangi respond to that. You're saying that in Russia, it was in Ukraine, it's the Tamil Nadu government who arranged for buses, because that has been officially denied by the government of India. Aprajita Sarangi. So essentially, if any evacuation had to happen, the buses were arranged by the government of Tamil Nadu. Did you, Mr. Saravanan, also provide for buses from Sumy, by the way?
If they allowed, if the union government had allowed us, if the union government will let us do, our representatives were also not allowed to go there.
So, sir, if they can arrange for buses in Sumy, why couldn't they arrange for buses in Pisochin?
Pisochin. I said we were able to do that.
But if the government can go inside an area where shelling is happening and arrange buses there, why can't they arrange buses in Pisochin? Why did they wait for government of Tamil Nadu to step in?
Padmaja, can I intervene?
That is what has happened. I am telling you things which are all on record. There is no point in asking me those questions. Those questions should be directed to the union government.
What record are they on? The government has actually denied it on record.
Hindu business line. Reporters from the Hindu business line had tweeted about it. In regional vernacular languages.
Sir, just because it has been reported somewhere doesn't make it on record. On record is when either government puts it on record.
That is your interpretation and your understanding.
So that is your interpretation.
My understanding.
I am asking a very logical question, that if the government of India can go into an area where shelling is happening and provide for 12 buses, why would they say that, we'll save 10,000 rupees and not give buses in Pisochin and take that money from government of Tamil Nadu?
I said we have organized it. You are questioning is on a different line. I told you Tamil Nadu government has organized it, and you are asking some other question which is illogical. I can't understand. I can't understand what you are talking, what your line of questioning.
I am trying to understand.
I made a statement which is on record, which is well documented.
Why did you need to arrange buses in Pisochin when the government was already doing it?
Because it was the most efficient, expedient way to do it. That is why we did it, because we are concerned that if we could do something, we will do it. We want to work with the government. We want to work with the government. We are in solidarity with the students.
With all respect for the spokesperson of DMK, I can only say that he is so very ridiculous. See, the fear is that the government of India will take the entire credit and Tamil Nadu government will be deprived of it. Now, let me make it very clear that the government of India, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, never acted for accolades. We did not want credit. We did not want accolades. It's our duty. I just request, you cannot give bouquets. Don't throw big brickbats at us. I reiterate, you cannot give bouquets to us. If you are not broad-minded enough to give bouquets to us, don't throw brickbats. This is bad. Whatever is good and whatever is bad is bad. If good things are being done, please learn to appreciate and acknowledge. The government of India has done a good job, is doing a good job, and I think all of you with a broad heart should acknowledge that.
Mr. Saravanan.
Sarangi ji, if you talk about accolades, it was our honorable
I don't know.
Prime
Let me finish this. I'm saying the BJP,
at the rally
the BJP should not say all these things. It is their duty. It is the duty of the union government to do that. And what is this spokesperson saying? She is saying that BJP is taking. Why are you taking credit for that? You are expected. This is not the first time. No. Just a moment, madam. This is not the first. This is not the first time. This is not the first time evacuations are happening. Mr. Manmohan Singh has done that. Mr. Narasimha Rao has done that. All the eminent prime ministers of this country had done that. What is something that is so great about this? As though this has never happened in the history of India. You are talking as though this is the first time such an evacuation has taken place.
Please
Why are you trying to take discredit?
This is bad.
Your duty. This is the
Whatever
least that is
right
expected of the union government.
must be accepted and must be appreciated.
Don't say that, oh, we have done this, we have done that.
Who said it is our duty? We never said that. You are not reading newspapers. You are not aware of what's happening around you.
That is what you said.
This smacks of ignorance. This smacks of arrogance on your part, and this displays your ignorance.
Arrogance is BJP's trademark, madam.
You are not reading newspapers.
You
are not conversant with the news.
Arrogance and ignorance are the two sides of BJP.
We never said we are working for credit. We never said that.
You will not say that. You will not openly say that. But whatever everybody else will do that.
You are not aware of the facts.
No, so Mr. Sarvan, just let me understand. You are saying that what the government of India did was its duty and they shouldn't ask for credit, and you're absolutely right. Then why is it that you keep stressing that in Pisochin, the government of Tamil Nadu arranged for buses? Is that not asking for credit when the claim itself is suspect, by the way? You say this is your duty, don't talk about it. But then you say, but we went out and we arranged for buses for Tamil students in Pisochin. What is that?
Yes.
Isn't that credit seeking?
It is a statement of fact. It is a statement of fact. I just brought you. You were asking, what did you do? Why do you want your representatives there? You asked me, was there any kind of discrimination between North Indian students and South Indian students? When I said yes and quoted what Mr. Manikam Tagore has tweeted, what the students have spoken in vernacular media, I quoted that, and you are not willing to listen to that.
Sir, the two things are completely unrelated. The question to you was that at the beginning you have said there is no action plan by the government of India. Now I am asking you, if 700 people are extracted from a conflict area, would you agree there was a plan or no?
See, it is the duty, whether they have a plan or not. That is what, this is not the first time. This is not the first time people have been evacuated from war zones. Successive governments, eminent prime ministers earlier have done this. They did not chest thump like how the BJP is doing it.
One statement.
You know, you are absolutely right, sir. This is not the first time that people have been evacuated. It's also not the first time that buses have been arranged. But anyway, let General Katoch also come in. General Katoch.
Just 2 points I wish to make. You know, I think there was a tweet from the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu requesting the Prime Minister to evacuate Tamil students. Now, I think, you know, we are going so horribly wrong here. Every student is an Indian student. I think it is high time we started looking into that aspect, that we are all one. We are all Indians. And I can assure you, as a former army officer, today, if I am on the battlefield, I will be very scared to go, because I know my country is not behind me. Every political party will be fighting to say, do this, do that. Ye Tamil hai, ye Brahmin hai, ye wo hai. This is not the way we fight as a country, especially when when the chips are down, especially in a war zone. I feel absolutely, utterly ashamed at the way this conversation is going. It is not even bordering ridiculous. It is shameful. And I think if the Pakistanis are listening there, they'll be delighted. The Chinese will be delighted. They say, yeah, we don't need to do anything to India. They'll break up by themselves.
You know, and since we are talking about discrimination, leave alone discriminating between people who are Indians, not Tamil, not Kannadiga, not from UP, Bihar or MP, Indians. Today, among the people taken out of Sumy, there is one Nepali, 13 Bangladeshis, 1 Pakistani and 2 Tunisians. Because this is what human effort and human gestures are about and should be about, leaving politics and differences aside. The good news is that 700 Indians are safely back home. Will be back home very quickly. Thank you very much, all gentlemen and Aprajita Sarangi, for joining.